Okay, so for number one here, converting from inches into yards, we don't necessarily have a direct conversion directly into yards, but we're going to put the inches on bottom to get rid of them, and we'll go to feet first. What's our relationship between feet and inches? 12 inches in a foot. Good. So the inches are gone. That would put us into feet. Now we have to get from feet into yards, so put the feet on bottom, yards on top. What's that relationship? 3 feet and 1 yard. So the feet are gone. So on top, we've got 144 times 1 yard. It's 144 yards. On bottom, 1 times 12 times 3, which is 36. We divide, and what does that give us? 4 yards. Any questions on that one? Number 2. This is 13 square yards going into square feet. Put square yards on bottom, square feet on top. What's our relationship between square yards and square feet? Well, how many feet are in a yard? 3. This is squared, so what's 3 squared? 9. So 1 square yard is 9 square feet. So the square yards cancel out. We got 13 times 9 square feet, which is 117 square feet. Good. 2.5 acres. Anybody remember the conversion between acres and square feet? This might not help, but surveying a chain is 66 feet. An acre is based off of a square chain. So you do 66 squared, 4,356, and it's 10 square chains in an acre, 43,560. Again, you guys don't work with chains really either, so I don't necessarily expect you to remember what a chain is either. 108,900? Perfect. Number 4, we have 2 cubic feet going into cubic inches. What's that relationship? $144 would be square feet and square inches. Somebody over there said it. 1728. The way you always remember is you look at the regular conversion. There's 12 inches in a foot. Then you look at the units. These units are cubed, so it's 12 cubed. 12 times 12 times 12. So 1,728. So the cubic feet cancel out. 2 times 1728. 3456 is correct. $120 gallons converting into cubic feet. Anybody remember how many gallons are in a cubic foot? No. A 5-gallon bucket. It takes 1.5 5-gallon buckets to make a cubic foot. 1 cubic foot is 7.5 gallons. So the gallons cancel out there. We've got 120 cubic feet divided by 7.5, which is 16 cubic feet. Perfect. And then 64 quarts going into gallons. How many gallons or how many quarts in a gallon? 4. Good. Remember, quart stands for quarter gallon. So it's 64 divided by 4, or 16 is correct. Anybody have any questions on any of those conversions? We are going to do a few more, but. Okay, and that is one that a lot of people are confused on. So it's 2 cubic feet. So the conversion, since it's cubic feet, remember it's 12 inches in a foot. So it's 12 by 12 by 12 for a cubic foot. Because a cubic foot is 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. So you do 12 inches times 12 inches times 12 inches gives you the 1,728 cubic inches in 1 cubic foot. So let's do 11 yards into rods. I'll have you guys do that one, and I'll write a few more down as you guys are working on that one here. So for the first one, 11 yards going into rods. What's the relationship between yards and rods? 5.5. 16.5 would be feet in a yard, in a rod. No, 1 rod is 5.5 yards or 16.5 feet. So we back up here. It's going to be 2 rods. Perfect. Second one, 144 ounces. Going into pounds, how many pounds are in an, or how many ounces are in a pound? 16. So what do we get there? 9 pounds. Perfect. Number 3, a little bit trickier. This is a pump capacity, 8 cubic feet per minute. We're going to write that as 8 cubic feet over 1 minute. What's that? Yeah, because you have to convert both units. So we're going to put cubic feet on bottom to get rid of the cubic feet, and we're changing it to what? Gallons. That's the first part people struggle with, is with 2 units, is which ones match up. It's always the top unit, the numerator, and then the bottom unit. What's the relationship between gallons and cubic feet? One cubic foot is 7.5 gallons. So now the cubic feet are gone. Right now we have gallons per minute. We need to get rid of the minutes and convert them to hours. So where are the minutes going to go in my conversion factor? Top. Since they're on bottom, we're going to put them on top so they cancel out. Now we're changing them to hours. 1 hour is 60 minutes. So the minutes are gone. So the units on top are gallons. On bottom are hours. We've got 8 times 7.5 times 60, which is 3,600, yep. And on bottom, 1 times 1 times 1 is just 1. So that is 3,600 gallons per hour. Did anybody get that one? We'll do some of those rate conversions or compound unit conversions. We'll do more of those. 48 fluid ounces going into pints. How many fluid ounces are in a pint? There's 16. Technically, we should probably go to cups first. 1 cup is 8 fluid ounces. And then, of course, 2 cups is 1 pint. But either way, 48 divided by 16 is 3 pints. 54 cubic feet going into cubic yards. What's our relationship there? Close. How many yards are in a foot? 3, so the units are cubed, so 3 times 3 times 3? 27. There you go. So what does that end up being? 2 cubic yards. You got it. And then finally, 693 cubic inches going into gallons. Anybody remember the relationship between cubic inches and gallons? 231 cubic inches in a gallon. So that is 3 gallons. You got it. So I'll have you start off by doing miles per hour into feet per second. Then I'll put some others up here while you're quick. So 40 miles per hour is 40 miles over 1 hour. We have to get rid of the miles first. We're going to go from miles into what? Feet. And what's our relationship? Perfect. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So the miles are gone. What else do we have to do? How many seconds in an hour? Well, 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute, 3,600. There we go. We do that one enough that we take the shortcut. So we'll cross off the hours. What does that give us? 58.67 feet per second. Remember, you multiply the stuff on top, then you divide by whatever's on bottom. 80 pounds per square foot. We're going to put pounds on bottom going into ounces. What's the relationship? 1 pound is 16 ounces. So the pounds are gone. We have to get rid of the square feet. Where are we going to put them? On top. Changing them into square inches. 1 square foot is how many square inches? 144. Good. 12 inches in a foot, it's squared, so it's 12 times 12 is 144. 8.89 works for me. Anybody have any questions as to where that 8.89 is coming from? We're just doing 80 times 16 and then divided by the 144. Yep, 40 times 5280 times 1. You get that top number, then on bottom, 1 times 1 times 1 is 3,600. We divide it out. Same here, 80 times 16 gives you the top number, 1 times 1 times 144, and then you divide it out. Well, we're going to change it up a little bit here with metric. 40 meters per second is 40 meters over 1 second. We're going to change the seconds first here, going into hours. 1 hour is 3,600 seconds. Gives us how many meters per hour? 40 times 3,600, 144,000 meters per hour. The reason we did that was because to convert the metric portion, we don't really have to calculate anything. I'm going to leave the 1 hour alone because we need the hour. From meters to kilometers, if I look at the chart, it's 3 spots to the left. So I just have to move my decimal point 3 spots to the left. It's 144 kilometers per hour. Does that make sense? Four ounces per pint is 4 ounces per 1 pint. We'll change the ounces into pounds. 1 pound is 16 ounces. Ounces are now gone. We still need to change pints. Pints are going to go where? Top, gallons on bottom. 1 gallon is how many pints? Technically, we should go to quarts. 1 quart is 2 pints. Close. Quarts on top. 4 quarts is 1 gallon. So it's 8 pints in a gallon. So on top here, we've got 4 times 1 pound times 2 times 4 is 32 pounds. On bottom, 1 times 16 times 1 times 1 gallon is 16 gallons. So that is 2 pounds per gallon. Any questions there? Come on. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit. Let's say this is 1.5 inches by, let's go 11.25 inches by 8 feet long. How many board feet are in that? The first thing we probably should do there is convert the 8 feet into inches. How many inches would that be? 96 inches. So our board feet is thickness times width times length. That's our volume of that board in cubic inches. Does anybody remember how many cubic inches are in a board foot? You had it before. 144. Remember, a board foot is defined to be 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 inch thick. What's that? Thickness times width times length. So in this example, it'd be the 1.5 times 11 1/4 times 96 over 144. What did we get? What's that? 11.25, 11.25 board feet. Now, one of the conversions we talked about was board feet per linear foot. In other words, board feet per foot of length. For this board, how would we do that conversion? Well, we take our board feet divided by how long is the board? 8 feet. So 11.25 board feet divided by 8 linear feet, or just 8 feet, gives us, what's that? 1.41 board feet per foot. That conversion factor is actually pretty important to us because it allows us to calculate the linear footage needed of planks for any sort of job. A second way, so this is one way of calculating board feet. Method one is if we have a plank. I'll just say for a plank, for a board. The board feet, as we saw, was the thickness of the board times the width of the board times the length of the board, all in inches, divided by 144. But if we have a surface that's being covered with boards, it is the square footage times the thickness in inches. So let's say that we're going to use these 1.5 by 11.25 inch boards that we found up here to cover a deck that is 12 feet by 32 feet long. What is the square footage of that deck? The area of the deck. There we go. 32 feet by 12 feet is 384 square feet. So the board footage is that area, 384 square feet times the thickness. Now we're using those 1.5 by 11.25 boards, so the thickness is the 1.5 inch of the board. Is it 576? Is that right? Yeah, okay. So 576 board feet is what we need to do that deck. If we want to figure out how many linear feet of that board we're going to use, we can take that board feet and use our conversion here. That conversion is saying 1.41 board feet equals 1 linear foot or 1 regular foot of board. So we can take our 576 board feet here, put it over 1. We're going to get rid of the board feet, so we put board feet on bottom. It's 1.41 board feet per 1 foot. So the board feet cancel out. We take the 576 divided by 1.41 gives us 408.51 feet. So that's how many feet, linear feet of that, technically 2 by 12 or 1.5 by 11.25 inch board we would need to do that deck. Does that make any sense? I'll let you off the hook. Board feet is not on the test, but it's a very important tool to be familiar with. 8.5 by 11? Sorry. It is 5 pages. 5 pages. 3 sheets of paper, it's 55 questions. But we have 3 classes to do it. Let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back in 10 minutes. So for the first one, what's 8 inches plus 6 inches? 14 inches. Just like whole numbers, we start at the end and we work our way back. Now 14 inches, of course, 1 foot 2 inches. So we keep the 2 inches and we carry the 1 foot. 1, 5, and 7 make 13 feet. So 13 feet 2 inches. Any questions on that one? Number 2, we got to subtract. Again, we start at the end, work our way back to the left. 4 inches minus 9 inches. Can't be done. So we borrow and make that 7 feet. What's the 4 inches become? 16. Good. We add 12 to it. 12 minus 9? 7 inches. 7 feet minus 5 feet? 2 feet. So 2 feet, 7 inches. Any questions there? Number 3, 7 times 8 inches? 56 inches. How many feet can we get out of that? 4 feet with how many inches left over? 8 inches. So we'll keep the 8 inches, carry the 4 feet. Then what? 7 times 3 is 21 plus the 4. 25 feet, 8 inches. Any questions there? Number 4. 11 feet, 8 inches divided by 4. This is the one where the few of the ones where we start at the left and work our way to the right. It's probably easier if we rewrite it like this as a long division problem. So 4 goes into 11 feet how many times? Twice. That's 2 feet. What's 2 feet times 4? 8 feet. So we have how much left over? 3 feet. Before I can bring down the 8 inches, what do I have to do to the 3 feet? Make it inches, right? 36 inches. So now I have 8 inches plus 36 inches is 44 inches. 44 divided by 4? 11 inches. So that's 2 feet, 11 inches. Any questions on that one? The division is where most people struggle. Classic area problem is racetrack. Pretend that's the same width all the way around. That's 60 feet. From there to there is 40 feet. And this is 10 feet. Want to find the area in the track. We'll work through this one together. Anybody want to tell me where to start? With the 60 feet? So 60 feet by what? By 40? We can do that. Gives us 2,400. Now, is that all area, or is that, do we have to take something out of that? 60 by 40 was this whole rectangle, right? Well, we need to take out, yeah, we're going to have to add stuff to it yet too, yes. That's going to be 20 by 60, or 60 by 20, which is 1,200. So our net square footage there is 1,200. Subtract that. So that is this piece and this piece. So yeah, Preston, you're right. We do have to add in now, but what do we have to add in? These pieces, right? They look like that. What is the diameter of the big circle? Careful. The radius would be 20. Yep, the diameter would be 40. Okay, so the radius of the big circle is 20, the diameter is 40. What is the radius of the little circle? 10. You had her. So the diameter, of course, would be 20. So to find area, which do we use, diameter or radius? Radius for area. So the area of the large circle is going to be found by doing what? Careful, that's the small circle, 20 squared, which is what, 1,256 square feet. For the little circle, it's what, pi times 10 squared, otherwise known as 314 square feet. We're going to subtract that. The difference will be 942. So what do we do with that? Add it to the 1,200. Giving us 2,142 square feet is the area. In your notes, I want you to find the distance around the outside of the track out here. So to find this, I'm just using the outside shadow here. The rest of it's there. It would just be in here, but we're not really worried about that right now. We have this piece here, which is how long? 60 feet. And of course, this piece here is also 60 feet. How do we find these two pieces? Pi times 40, you got it. It's a diameter across there of 40. Yes. What does this give us total here? So 125.6 feet added to the two 60-foot lengths gives us 245.6 feet. Any questions there? Now let's have some fun. As a math teacher, I might be a little twisted. I'm going to have you in your notes find the volume and surface area. I know a lot of you are struggling with these, so we want to make sure we review these here too. For volume, what'd you do? Where did we start? What's that? 5 times 9 will work. If we do 5 times 9, that means we're using this as our base. So that gives us 45 square inches as the area of our base. So we can convert that into a volume by doing 45 square inches times what? Times the 6, which will give us 270, isn't it? The difference between your answer and the right one is nothing. So anyway, sorry, that was a corny joke. For surface area, let's use the 45 square inches as the area of our base. We already have the area of our base. So our lateral area is going to be wrapped around this way now. So we'll use the perimeter of our base. Again, I realize a lot of you probably use the 5 by 6, but we'll use the 5 by 9. 5 inches plus 9 inches plus 5 inches plus 9 inches, which will give us what? 28 inches is the perimeter of our base. So then our lateral area will be the perimeter of the base, the 28 inches, times the height, which we used as 6 inches, which will give us 168 square inches as our surface area, as our lateral area. Sorry. And what do we have to add to that? The area of the base, the 45, I would have to add it twice. Yes, unless it comes to a peak, like a pyramid or a cone. So that is what, 258 square inches is the surface area. How many of you came up with 258? How many of you came up with the 270? So we've been doing better with volumes. It's the surface areas that seem to be giving us trouble. For this, what you could have done is you could have just found 5 by 9 is that area 45. There's another one on back. 5 by 6 is 30 square feet. There's another, or square inches. There's another one on top. This is 6 by 9. There's another one there. And just add them all together if you needed to. The reason we do that perimeter of the base is because there are shapes like this one where we can't do all those little sides and add them together. So let's say that this has a diameter here of 12 inches and a height of 10 inches. Again, I'll give you a couple minutes to find volume and surface area. A few people getting done here. Let's take a peek here. So for volume, our first step is the area of the base. The base of this shape, of course, is the circle. How do we find the area of that circle? Pi times radius squared. What's the radius? 6 inches. Good. So pi times 6 squared will give us 113.04 square inches. So then our volume There we go. 113.04 square inches times the 10 inches of height is 1,130.4 cubic inches. For surface area here, we have the area of the base already. That's this one. We need our lateral area. What do we need to know for to find the lateral area? Well, yep, the diameter is going to come into it. Remember, lateral area is the perimeter of the base times height. So how do we find the perimeter of the base? Yeah, it's a circumference. So it's just going to be pi times diameter. Pi times 12, which is 37.63, 68 inches. What do we do with that then? Careful. 37.68, it's times the height. So times the 10, you got it? So yes, 376.8 square inches. What do we have to do with that now? Yeah, we add the area of the base twice, the 113.04 square inches. Yes, 602.88 is our surface area. That is beautiful penmanship, isn't it? It's a little bit better. Well, since we're on a roll, I'll even be nice to you and give you a right angle. Boy, that's not drawing to scale very well, is it? We'll try that a little bit better. Okay, so it's running low on time. Let's work through this one together. For volume, our first step is to find area of the base. What shape is the base here? It's the triangle. And I was nice and gave you a right triangle. How do I find the area of that triangle? 6 inches times 8 inches divided by 2. How did we know to use the 6 and the 8, not the 10? When we find the area of a triangle, we have to use the 2 dimensions, the 2 sides that form what? The 90-degree angle. Good, the right angle. So that gives us, what, 24 square inches? What do we do with that to get our volume? Times that height of 5 inches. So 120 cubic inches. For surface area, we need the area of that base, which is how much again? 24. And then we're going to need lateral area. What are the 2 things we need for lateral area again? Perfect. Perimeter of the base and the height. So to find the perimeter of the base, what do we need? 6 plus 8 plus 10. Very good. "24 inches. What do we do with that then? There you go. It's the perimeter of the base, the 24 inches, times the 5 inches of height. So yes, 120 square inches is our lateral area. What do we do with that? Add the 24. Perfect. And we do it twice. So what, 168 is the surface area. Well, I rushed through that one because I wanted to make sure we had time to get to these last two. That one's awful. That's a little bit better. So how do we find the volume of a cone? Where do we start? Perfect. We find the area of the base. So it's pi times 8 squared. Where did the 8 come from? There you go. We have a 16-inch diameter, 8-inch radius. So pi times 8 squared gives us 200.96 square inches. What do we do with that to find our volume? There you go. It's times the height of 15. And because it's a cone, we divide by 3. Perfect. 1,004.8 cubic inches is our volume. For surface area, we need the area of our base yet, which is the 200.96. For lateral area, we still need the perimeter of the base, but we no longer need the height. What do we need? The slant. How do we find the slant? We make a right triangle in here. Good. What's this dimension? 8, just our radius. How about this dimension? 15, just our height. So it's 8 squared plus 15 squared equals that slant squared. What do we get for the slant? Something's a little off there. So 8 squared is 64. 15 squared is 25. You add them to get 289. I believe you squared it again instead of square rooting it. 17 is correct. So the slant is 17. We have that. The perimeter of the base. How'd you get that? Pi times our diameter of 16 is 50.24. So our lateral area is the perimeter of the base times the slant of 17, and what else? If I unrolled that lateral area, does it form a rectangle anymore? No, it would form a triangle. So when we do the area of a triangle, have to divide by 2. What's that give us? Yep. 427.04. Square inches is lateral area. What do we have to do to that? $200.96 for the area of the base. So fortunately, you got it. 628 is our total surface area. Any questions on that one? That brings in a few more steps, having to find the slant and then having to remember to divide that lateral area by 2 because it's a triangle instead of a rectangle. For this pyramid, in your notes, we've got a little time, so let's try to find the volume and the surface area again. I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, so for the volume here, again, we start with the area of the base. How do we do the area of the base here? 10 inches by 10 inches, which gives us 100 square inches. How do we get to the volume from there? 100 square inches times 12, and then divided by 3 because it's a pyramid. 400 cubic inches. For surface area, we need the area of that base yet. We also need lateral area. So what are the two things we need for lateral area? Slant and the perimeter of the base, right? How do we find the slant here? A right triangle, good. What's this dimension? 5, and this one is 12. And so how do we use that to find the slant? 5 squared plus 12 squared equals slant squared, and the slant comes out to be, what is it? 13 is perfect. So the slant is 13 inches. How do I find the area of the base, or the perimeter of the base? 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. You got her. So our lateral area is the perimeter of the base. That was 40. Times what? Slant of 13 inches. 2, because it's an area. 2-dimensional. 260. So 260 square inches, what do we do with that? You always go back to the volume, but it's not the volume, it's the area of the base, the 100. So 360 square inches is our surface area. Any questions? Okay, I will give you some time here to